We are not aiming to become like big shot photographers or Ansel Adams or anything like that. What we are trying to do is establish a sort of vocabulary for certain terms and for certain requirements between the comms teams and the teams that are going out into the field taking the images. To that end, we are going to be capturing images and videos and what they can do and why we need those things. We're also going to be covering most commonly used terms. And then I'll walk you through certain shots and compositions of what effective images can do and how they can do it. And then we'll also be covering certain considerations like consent and credit and things and so. First and foremost, let's talk about the importance of images and videos. What they do is capture attention, they evoke emotions, they communicate ideas, and most importantly for us as a member of a research team is that it conveys information. One might think that they are only handy or useful for social media or for updates on the website. No, images are also so frequently used in case studies, in reports, in documentation of research, as they should be, because graphs and numbers and flowcharts can only take you to a certain point. In order to represent research impact, you need images. You need images and videos to put a face to that research, to give them a sense of the ground realities, put a human value to the research, so to speak. Before I take you through the commonly used terms, I'd also like to talk about two key aspects of images and videos. One is lighting, and the other is audio quality. When it Because a lot of the terms are going to be very similar and the framing of videos and images are going to be very similar, we'll take it next. But first, let's talk about lighting. They have to be bright, they should be bright, and they should be clear, especially given the fact that this is scientific research. If you're doing something quite moody or arty or creative with a different slant, they can have a unique or creative lighting, sepia tones and things like that. But when it comes to research images, it's best to keep them white and clean, the lighting I mean. And the audio quality, this is specific to videos, but please understand, poor audio quality makes the video uneditable for the comms team and the design team, because there is no way for us to extract the audio from the video and then edit it separately. That's filmmaker, you know, area, and we don't have the capacity to do that. So please check for sound quality. Do a quick sound check and do a quick acoustics check if it's in a confined space. Now, you might be wondering, how do we do a sound check? For clarity, you speak into the mic or you speak into the earphones and stuff like that, and see if it's clear. The other trick that you can employ is use words like porridge, uh, sentiment, temperament, words that have P, T, S, these letters. See if the mic pops, see if the audio pops. If it doesn't, you're good to go. In terms of acoustics, I'm thinking PAB meetings, I'm thinking closed door uh, conversations that might be recorded, that might be used internally or things like that. For that, if you have, let's say you're in a room, have two people diagonally opposite to each other, and you can use the same kind of words with those letters S, P, T. F is also a good word to check for acoustics and see if it's audible from one end of the diagonal to the other end of the diagonal. If it's audible and it's clear, you're good for acoustics. Now, this is an example of lighting. The left-hand side, I would strongly urge you to refrain from these kind of images. These are art exhibition, gallery kind of lighting, dark, moody, with the sun from the back and things like that. Try to aim for a bright, clean, well lit image that is represented by this example here. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask. If not, I'll move on to the commonly used terms that are used in photography.
Neha, Maruf here. Just a quick question in terms of the lighting thing.
Mhm,
Sometimes there is a possibility when you are in field and you're doing an activity, and if, say, for example, there is sudden rain or something, and if there are too much clouds, so one
mhm,
is that you are forced to move inside.
mhm.
And in villages, you might not, in especially when it's raining, even electricity is not there. So you are forced to, click pictures or shoot videos in darker spaces, or maybe it's if a activity is done slightly later in the evening. So is there a trick to handle that in case when the natural lighting is not enough for shooting or taking photos?
There is a trick, but it might be a bit difficult. And I understand when those kind of images come out, they become a little less effective. There's no such thing as a bad image, but they become a tiny bit less effective. The trick to answer your question is here in this example, the photographer is looking into the sun, which is why the shadows are cast this way. If you were to stand with the sun behind you, then the light would fall on the subject. Similarly, in a confined space, if there is less lighting or dimmer lighting, try to make sure that you're taking the picture uh, at the same plane as the light source. If the tube is here or the lighting is here, try to take the image from here. In that case, the light will fall on the subject and will kind of negate a bit of that problem of dim light.
Okay, thanks. Got it.
Moving on to the commonly used terms in photography. Size. Now, size in photography has many different meanings and variations. So I'm not going to cover all of them. It can be quite frustrating and overwhelming. We are going to focus on the two important ones. One is the pixels, and the other is the file size. Pixels is the size of the image in the terms of what's the height of the image and the width of the image. So when you see a number like this, start something, that is the pixels of the image. And the higher these numbers are, it's easier for forms or any designer or person to resize it and edit it. So try to make sure that they are high, either this number or higher. It can be 2040 by 1020 or something like that, but try to make sure they are higher. Uh, because if it's a smaller size, if you try to enlarge it, it pixelates. It kind of splits. It doesn't look very sharp. The file size, which is measured in KBs, MBs, and GBs, is the size of the file. And it can vary on the device that you've used to capture the image. Like an SLR usually has a higher file image than a camera phone, and digital camera has a size image that's somewhere in between. So try to gauge that. The file size doesn't really cause that much problems in terms of editing, but just for your knowledge. The format. PNG and JPEG are the most preferred formats. Other formats cause a bit of trouble because they again become difficult to edit. You have to convert it and then edit it. And in doing so, you lose some of the quality of it. Eyeline. Eyeline is essentially where your eyes are being drawn to in the image. Like if you're looking at me right now, which part, like you're looking at me, I'm the person who is drawing your eyeline, or the screen is drawing your eyeline. Where is the viewer looking at the image? That's eyeline. Angle is where the camera is taking the image. Now, your eyeline might be drawn to me, and I might have a camera here. The camera's eyeline at this point is here. But if I tilt it, its eyeline changes, its angle changes. So the image will be taken from here. My eye line could be this, but the angle of the camera is this. So the angle of the image is this. Bear this in mind. When I'm talking about angles moving forward, I'll be talking about the angle that the camera is taking the image from. Composition. Composition is essentially what's in the image, the objects and the subjects that are within the image. They can be dense if there are quite a lot of subjects and objects, they can be shallow. They can also be classified in terms of the shape that the various subjects are making. I'll show you through examples, but just in terms of definitions, that's what composition means. Now, shots. Shots are a amalgamation of variations of composition and angle. Like it's a permutation combination sort of thing. But there are certain broad categories of shots which I'll be taking you through. Before I do that, if there are any questions, feel free, or else I'll move ahead. Moving ahead then. Establishing shot. Now, establishing shot, established by quite obvious, it establishes the background. It gives the viewer, the reader a sense of the place and the time, and like where it is that you're doing that activity. It gives them a kind of like a location pin. And it's best taken wide and in landscape mode. There is a very simple trick to this. You just have to hold your hand steady and capture the image on your phone or a camera held horizontally. If you hold your camera like this, you won't get a wide shot. You'll only get a wide shot like this because the camera is looking through here, not here. Now, there is something missing in these two images. If anyone can guess, please feel free to do so. Can you guess what it is? And hint here, it's not related to lighting, although because the lighting on the left image is not effective. It's just as used as an example. Any guesses? What's missing in these images? No guesses. Okay. People. An establishing shot doesn't just give you a sense of the place and the time and the location. It can also give you a sense of the people. Both of these are establishing shots with people in them. Now you can take this from angles. Like if I were to take this image from this angle, it would have been a wide shot. But because if I've taken it from an acute angle, I'm getting the depth of the rows. I'm getting multitudes of subjects. And that's adding gravity to the situation. And it's establishing the gravity of the problem or the research or whatever you might want to call it. Similarly, here you're getting a depth of people within the cinema hall or something like that. This is a handy trick when you're taking images from the back. And it's also a handy trick when you're like kind of navigating the consent issue of I can't get so many people to consent. I don't have the time, but I want to document the fact that we've had this activity or something with so many people. In that case, if the photographer were to stand here and take an image, your problems will be solved and you'll be able to circumnavigate that issue. There is, again, in this image, a mistake. If anyone can tell me, I'll be very, very pleased. Take a shot, take a hint. Take a guess. I can't see the messages. If there are any guesses being put forward on the chats, feel
In the
free
second
to
image, we
unmute.
can't see faces of anyone.
True, but that's not a mistake. You're leaning in the right direction, but
It's blurred.
it's a mistake.
It's blurred.
Correct? Correct? Another mistake. You're correct, Maru, but there is another mistake that's been made. Okay. So the person, what they've done is they've either been sitting or at a low height So what they've managed to do essentially is only capture 2 rows. I can see that there are more rows to the up till the end, until the cheap seats. What the photographer should have done is he or she should have stood up and held the camera and tilted it in a way where from this row till the very last row, all of the rows were captured. They've missed a trick here. They've made a mistake here. If only they had done that, they would have gotten a much more effective and evocative image of, oh my God, this cinema hall is packed to the brim, or this theater is packed to the brim. Moving on. Group shot. Now, you might, if I'm sure you guys are, you might be questioning, why is this a group shot and this an establishing shot? This is a group shot. I've classified it separately because here I don't get a sense of the time or the place or the location. This could be any activity, this could be any team. There is nothing to distinguish it and put it in, like, let's say, a theater or in a classroom, which is why this is a group shot and this is an establishing shot. Group shots, they give the viewer and the reader the human value of a situation. Again, that's essentially what images do. They let you know who are the people who are involved and what it is that they are bringing to the table or doing or interacting with. It's most effective when taken wide and in landscape mode, but they can be taken in a portrait mode as well. What they should ideally not be taken from is from a lower angle. This, the photographer has had to do this because he wants to get everybody, it's a confined space. He wants everybody's faces to be visible, which is why he's gone low. But I would highly recommend you don't do that. You sit on your haunches. This part could have been eliminated if you can see my cursor, this entire section of the image could have been eliminated if the photographer had just sat on his haunches and taken the image. What he has done is gone from a lower angle, which I would sincerely not recommend. The trick to having your effective group shot is to have the subjects at various angles of height. This person is at a different height, this is at a different height, somebody is in the background, there's a person who is in the foreground. Try to do that. Try to try to populate the image at various, levels and heights. It will make it more dense. It will make it more compact. It will also make it more effective. This is again an example of a group shot. And this particular group shot is forming a very specific composition. It's forming a linear composition. I would say use it very sparingly. In this particular image, there is a prop. So what the photographer has managed to do is he's been like, ladies, can you move forward? Can you put your hand on the bolts rod? And by doing that, he's caused some kind of variation in the heights and distance from the camera. It might not always be possible. You might not have a prop. So I would highly, recommend that you use this shot very sparingly. Instead of a linear composition, go for a triangular composition. They're best for capturing teams on field and stuff like that. You see how these subjects are kind of forming a triangle, which is why it's called a triangular composition. It's very effective when used for capturing teams. And this is a circular composition. See how these are at various heights and they're kind of forming a semicircle. This is also very effective, and it's very effective when capturing action. If there are any questions, feel free to do so, or else I'll move ahead. No? Okay. Action shot. Now, action shot are capturing motion or the act of doing something. You guys have taken some really great action shots of installing sensors, plastic burning, kind of germinating a seed or cultivating a seed or something like that. Those kind of things will fall under the action shot. Uh, Speaking to somebody is also an action shot. Taking notes is also an action shot. These can be very effective tools to represent research and action. And they should be ideally taken from various angles and compositions, because different angles will give you different moods and different movements. The trick to getting a good action shot is to put your camera in burst mode or in continuous shooting mode. Most iPhones have this feature in either the settings section or in the, I think it's the capture section. Take a look and you can do that. You can get multiple images, and from there you can filter the action shot that you're keen on. This image also has a error. If someone can point it out, it's quite obvious rather. If someone can point it out, I'd be quite pleased. Any guesses? Okay. It's blurry. So essentially, this image was a smaller size, or it was, the height and the width was smaller, and it had to be expanded for usage, which is why it got pixelated, and it's not a good, clear image. An action shot can also capture stillness. It doesn't always have to capture motion or the, act of active doing something kind of thing. You can capture stillness as well. You can capture a sensor already installed. You can capture a field that's already been raised to the ground, or you can capture, those kind of things, or a field or something like that that's germinated, or a kitchen garden that's come into fruition. That also qualifies as an action shot. Ad shot. Why is this an ad shot? Any guesses?
Because of the background.
Very good. Ding, ding, ding. Because of the background. Because the background has logos. It's advertising the organizers and the facilitators. It's a good way to acknowledge the organizers and facilitators. It gives them publicity. It also gives them coverage, and very good for media coverage. I don't particularly recommend a linear composition for it, but it sometimes can't be helped. But try to, get these kind of shots. Good examples of this are these two images. This, Maruf, I believe this is you at a training session or something. But the fact that the banner is here and the fact that I can see the NIHR logo makes it a good ad shot. It also makes it a good action shot. It's also a moderately effective group shot. The reason I say it's moderately effective is because I can't really see the, faces of the people and things like that. But barring that, it's a very effective shot. Similarly, for this, I can see the NIHR logo. I can see the logo of the hotel. It's essentially why people have logos and stuff like that, and symposiums and stuff like that. Why we insist on it, to make sure that it gets associated with a, particular event. Both are effective. A headshot. Now, a headshot is, it can have different, variations, but let's first look at why it's effective. It's effective for capturing speakers and event highlights. It can be taken from a variety of angles, and each angle has a specific function, which I will go through. And it's preferably taken in a portrait. It's this particular image is also effective as an ad shot because of the background behind, because of the, event elements there. This is one example of a headshot which has been taken from up to the waist, and it's not very tight on the face. It conveys authority, and it's very effective for events, especially if you have a podium and a mic somewhere around in the composition. This particular image is rather more tight on the face. It's coming closer to the bust, to the head, and it conveys accessibility. It's best used for personal profiles. I wouldn't recommend this angle for professional profiles. For professional profiles, a straight to camera is a much better shot. It conveys accessibility, but it makes sure that it's more, it conveys accessibility without conveying vulnerability, which is why it's more effective for professional profiles. This is the lot when it comes to shots and compositions. If there are any questions, feel free to ask them before I move on to the consent and consideration. The last bit is the subject versus photographer bit. Here, a lot of you will be subjects at certain times, and there will be moments where you will be the photographer. If you're the subject of the image, don't don't perform for the camera. Don't try to move your head or do something or anything. You don't have to perform for the camera. It's the photographer's job to get a good image. The only exception is obviously straight into camera headshots. But if you're the photographer and you have that responsibility on you, be patient with yourself. It's okay. When when you're going into the field, try to take if you're taking 10 images, let's say, try to take 2 of each kind of shot that I've mentioned today and then filter it down to, okay, I can use this, I can't use this, this is more effective, this is not. And I'm more than happy to walk you through this. If you have 10 images and you and I can then have that conversation of why this image is working and this is effective and this isn't. And then the next time when you go and you take 10 more images, the first time 2 might be usable, the next time 4 will be usable, and then 6, and then all 10. 10 is just a random number I've picked, but you get the drift. It's a continuous process of learning.